In the race to 270, Donald Trump has 230 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 176 electoral votes. And let's take a look at the blue wall states. Harris campaign manager saying she still believes there is a path to victory with the blue wall states. CBS News rates the states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin as toss-up at this hour. And along the southern route of battleground states, CBS News characterizes Arizona and Nevada as toss-up at this hour. Georgia, CBS News rates as lean Republican. And as we mentioned earlier, CBS News projects Donald Trump will win the state of North Carolina. My colleague John Dickerson is here and has been studying the exit polls. What accounts for where we are at this point of the night? We should note that all the votes are not in. Things can change. The only state we projected is North Carolina. But where are we?
Well, let's step away for a moment from the exit polls just to think about, no matter what happens with Donald Trump tonight, think of the comeback he has made after the attack on the Capitol on January 6th, in which his party pushed him away. Then in 2022, his candidates did not do well in their races. The hangover of Donald Trump. He is now tonight outperforming what was expected. I mean, he's doing well in the areas where he was supposed to be doing. His opponent is not doing as well in some places. He's bringing in Senate candidates who have run on his ticket with him. So just as a matter, whatever happens tonight, in terms of a political comeback story, leaving aside that he's totally redesigned a party around his views on the economy, immigration, it's already the fact that he's doing so well and it's so close is quite an extraordinary comeback for him.
Well, in addition to not only what happened on January 6th, even following those two impeachment trials, but of course, then two assassination attempts, a convicted felon, multiple federal felony counts against him.
Senior members of his national security team all saying he should not be allowed near power again. I mean, these are not rinky-dink people. These are former secretaries of state, national security advisors. I would also note, and Marco Rubio touched on this, and it'll be one of the stories of the night, is the realignment that might be going on in American politics. No longer by race and age, but now education, job. The forgotten man that Donald Trump talked about in his inaugural address in 2017, the forgotten man is voting for Donald Trump. And he's making inroads. He'll do better with African-American voters than any Republican has ever done, with Latino voters better than any Republican has ever done. He's not just changing the party, he may very well be changing American politics.
Nora, I wanted to pick up what John is saying, and you too, Cecilia, when you said, you used to think it was about your morals, your integrity, and your character. When we started out the evening, we said that the Harris campaign said that they were nauseously optimistic. Last time I checked, nausea is never a good thing. The Trump campaign was cautiously optimistic. And when I was in Pennsylvania talking to people, I had person after person, Trump supporter, say to me, yeah, he's mouthy, but I'm mouthy. Yeah, he doesn't tell the truth, but every politician lies. Yeah, he doesn't represent the values that I hold dear, but that's not what I'm looking for. I want to know, can this person do the job? And time after time after time, it came back to immigration, really hard on immigration, and the economy. But when I asked, who would you trust to babysit your children? Nobody. Only one person chose Donald Trump. And I just think when you put it in that context, I'd like to know what that says about us as a country. What does this mean? John, is it a brand new party? Is it a brand new day? And we should also say nobody has 270 yet either. Yeah. So the Harris campaign is still nauseously optimistic, but I bet they're getting a little sicker now as the night progresses.
There is this realignment, to pick up on what John was saying, that we are watching play out in terms of who's turning up to vote. But we are looking at a globe that is realigning, too. There is a disorientation. There is, from the commander-in-chief question, who is going to take office at a time when the world is watching this election tonight to see who they will be dealing with when they're looking at the largest land war in Europe underway, when they're looking at the expansion of that. They're looking at a Mideast on fire. They're looking at an aggressive China. And we are going to be digesting this as a planet when we wake up tomorrow morning to figure out what's next. A third of the world has had a female leader. This country has not. And tonight, this was also a test of whether a woman could be a commander-in-chief of this country elected in a very short runway of an election against a man who has presented himself, despite what his national security advisors say, as about strength, as about he puts fear in other people. Therefore, you won't see that realignment or that threat around the world come to these shores. That's the package he's selling in his national security argument. And it's just something to chew on tonight as we wait to see who gets to 270. There are just some major tests that go, I think, beyond this moment when we talk about gender, when we talk about, projections of power and America's role in the world.
I know, but you look at the exit polls. Harris overwhelmingly wins when people say they want their president to have good judgment. Trump overwhelmingly wins support when you say you're looking for someone who could lead and who can bring much-needed change.
Can't hear you talk. All right, let's bring in Robert Costa on this matter. Robert?
Some new reporting from former President Trump's inner circle at Mar-a-Lago tonight. It is just past midnight on the East Coast. People close to Trump tell me, just in the last few minutes, that it is notable that he has not yet made a statement. He is holding back from making remarks tonight because there is a growing sense inside of Trump's inner circle at the highest ranks of the campaign that tonight is shaping up well for Trump. The vote is still being counted. But there was talk early on, as we discussed, former chief strategist Steve Bannon and others urging Trump to get out there and declare victory. He has not done that yet because there is a belief that he could win it within the next 6 to 12 hours outright. They're not betting that yet, but they're holding him back. And he's telling people behind the scenes he feels very good that Republicans are turning out. When I spoke to him just before we went to air, he said immigration, more than anything, is overwhelming this race. He believes, in his view, that by focusing on border security, he wins over people who might have questions about his character, his conduct, January 6th. But the way he's framing the country as an argument, casting the Biden-Harris administration as a bleak place that's managing a country in decline, he believes if he hammers that and immigration, he could win. That was his bet from day one of this campaign. And there's a belief inside Trump's campaign tonight that it could be paying off.
Do you think he'll still say, Bob, the election was rigged?
If he wins?
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it, too. I doubt it, too.
It is still early in the night with a number of votes to be counted. Let's go now to Major Garrett at the data desk because we have not projected 6 of those 7 battleground states. We want to know what we see as those votes are coming in. Major?
So, Nora and team, there are toss-up status for Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. That is a fact. We have not changed or altered our projections. But there are trends within the toss-up designation that we must look at and look at closely. I'm going to start in Wisconsin. I'm going to move across the so-called blue wall. Let's look at Wisconsin. I'm only going to show you one thing. What Kamala Harris needs, the vice president needs, to prevail in Wisconsin and capture its 10 electoral votes. You see that, 56%. What does our estimate reveal? 45%. That is a substantial gap. Let's now go next door to across the lake to Michigan. All right, same question. What does Kamala Harris need? And we're talking about this in the sense that this is what her campaign manager, Jen O'Malley Dillon, has said is the place that this is a still winnable race. 52% in Michigan, outstanding vote. What is our CBS News estimate of the outstanding vote that she was likely to capture? 48%. That's a 4% gap. It is not catastrophic, but it is not a positive directional indicator. Let's go to Pennsylvania. Again, the same basic question. What does the vice president need, and what do we project? 57% is the need, 53% is the CBS News current estimate, with 85% of the vote in. These are trend lines beneath the toss-up designation, and these are not trend lines that augur well for the Harris campaign. And to Bob's point, that is why at Mar-a-Lago, the Trump inner circle believes what they have always said has come to fruition, that Trump is a turnout machine. if he was polling equally in this race, as he was in all the battleground states, he was going to overperform, even if it's just a tick or two, and that would make him highly competitive in every single battleground state. That is the trend beneath the toss-up designation we're seeing playing out right now.
That is quite illustrative. Major Garrett, thank you. And Caitlin Huey-Burns is in West Palm Beach, Florida, at Trump headquarters. And Caitlin, what are you hearing?
Hey, Nora, good to be with you. Well, Major just mentioned Pennsylvania. Donald Trump's home state essentially is here in Florida, but he had essentially taken up residency in Pennsylvania. I have been on the road with him all year. I've been to Pennsylvania at least once a week for the past 6 weeks. That is so centerpiece to their campaign. But I would also note that I covered Trump's first ever rally in New Hampshire, the first day that he was a candidate, and also covered his last rally as a presidential candidate last night. And in those intervening years, he has not changed a bit. And that's important because Trump's theory of the case has been that the American people, and especially the Republican Party, would come on board with his ideas, no matter his style. And that has served him well in the Republican primary. And their theory of the case was that there was 11% or so of the electorate that wasn't engaged in politics, wasn't watching the same media as the rest of the country, and to kind of tap into Trump's style would be able to pull those voters in. Now, that was a huge gamble. They were depending and are depending on those low propensity voters, but they felt like those two issues would make the deal. And I can't underscore enough how immigration has been centerpiece and the closing argument to Trump's campaign this time around and for nearly a decade.
Caitlin Huey-Burns. And coming up, we're going to talk with someone who knows Donald Trump well. CBS News America Decides Election 2024. We'll be right back.